President Trump has endorsed sweeping cuts to Medicaid.
Hundreds of workers are fired.
Have lost their
Plans are in
jobs.
the works to dismantle the Department of Education.
There are moments that will break you. This is not that moment. This moment will challenge us, test us, and if it all feels like too much, that's their plan. They want to make you feel powerless, but you are not powerless. Now, we've been here before. Together, we flipped a red seat when nobody thought it was possible.
Thank you very much.
And then, when things got really ugly, we showed how to fight back.
Mallory McMorrow. She was accused this week by a fellow state senator of wanting to, and I quote, teach, groom, and sexualize kindergartners. McMorrow responded.
They are not doing anything to fix the real issues that impact people's lives. And I know hate will only win if people like me stand by and let it happen.
I'd show this clip as an instructional video, Carville said.
That video has been viewed nearly 10 million times.
The senator just showed us how to respond.
She just might be showing Democrats the path to success.
When she practically roared, I felt it in my soul because I've been waiting for someone like her.
And in the state of Michigan, Democrats
And we won.
Huge historic wins.
Then we delivered.
We expanded the earned income tax credit, repealed the retirement tax for seniors on a fixed income, repealed right to work, restore prevailing wage, universal background checks, repeal our 1931 abortion ban, and expand our state Civil Rights Act to include LGBTQ Michiganders.
I know there's a lot of fear and anger and uncertainty right now about people in power who frankly have no business being there. So you know what won't fix it? The same old crap out of Washington.
The Democrats came ready to fight back with their little paddles.
Do you know who will? We will. We need new leaders because the same people in D.C. who got us into this mess are not going to be the ones to get us out of it. I'm Mallory McMorrow, and yes, I'm running for U.S. Senate because we don't have a minute to wait. Are you with me?
Oh, yeah, we are totally with her. Good evening and welcome to tonight's Democracy Briefing. I'm Lee Helberg, and we'll be fighting for democracy with some very fiery guests tonight. We'll be dropping a document with all of our links and social media handles in the chat as we go. Please make sure you follow all of our guests wherever you may roam. And if you don't, follow Demcast too. With that, I'd like to throw it over to our Executive Director, Nick Knudsen, and our Director of Partnerships, Jamie Carter. Let's start the show.
Thank you so much, Lee, and thanks everybody for joining us. Very, very cool launch video from Mallory McMorrow. Really looking forward to having her on. For those of you who don't know, Demcast is a 501c4 nonprofit organization that is dedicated to defeating right-wing narratives online, their extremist narratives, their propaganda, and lifting a pro-democracy message across all social media networks. And we do that by recruiting and training and deploying all of you who have social media accounts to spread pro-democracy messaging and defeat propaganda. Demcast is literally nothing without all of you. It's only via our collective efforts that we have been able to have such an amazing impact on the national discourse over the last decade or half a decade plus, going on a decade. Holy cow. And I'm just like, I'm so thankful for all of you. I did just want to say a couple things at the start. I know a lot of you have sent me messages that I really appreciate. I was having some health issues the last couple weeks. If you hopefully watch and or listen to our podcast with 11 films called The Dangerous Ones, I let everybody know that I had pulmonary embolism, which was pretty big shock, and have some clotting issues that came out of nowhere, but I'm okay. I've taken the last couple of weeks to balance and take stock and get healthy, and the meds that I'm on now seem to be doing the trick, and hopefully all the clots are disappearing and it'll be fine going forward. But I really appreciate everyone's well wishes. It's been a weird month. Another thing that I wanted to say, I saw in the comments, yay science, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yay, science. Something that we shouldn't ever take for granted anymore is appreciation for science. Also wanted to say we have Mallory McMorrow coming on in just a few minutes, which is extremely exciting. She's going to be here for a little bit, and then we're going to have a second half of the briefing today that's really important. I'm just asking y'all, please hang back. I know Mallory's like really exciting, and we're excited to have her. The second half of the briefing, we're going to be talking about some action that we're going to be taking this week on an issue where we actually have a chance to impact the conversation and impact the decision making that's happening in Congress around a key issue that's affecting small businesses. So we have some special guests from what's called the Hire Coalition who are going to join us, and we're going to talk about something that we're going to be doing on Wednesday on social media that's really important and could be really impactful for folks across the country who are running small businesses and nonprofits. So please stay for the whole show today. And with that, I think I'm gonna hand it over to Jamie. And Jamie, you're gonna maybe preview a cool thing that you've been working really hard on before he gets here.
Yeah, I do this every cycle, but here is the list of the 119th Congress. So there are 3 tabs along the bottom. We have the House, the Senate, and every Democrat that has already filed to run for 2026. And it is amazing how many Democrats there are running. But on this, you will find all of the data from the last election, as well as presidential results for that race, and social media handles for all platforms. So I did not do Threads because I don't think a lot of us are on Threads, but there's Facebook, TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok. And the best thing is it also includes everyone's direct phone numbers to DC.
Jamie dropped the link to the document that she's talking about in chat. We'll continuously drop it as we go forward.
Yep. And it's in our major links document. So this is basically, so the first page is House, their phone numbers. This has all of their social media accounts, what their election results were in both 24 and 22. I didn't go further back because obviously we had redistricting, and then Harris and Trump results. So you can see how the House Democrat performed against Harris, as well as all of their committee assignments. And we have the same for all of the Senate races. And on the Senate, I've included if they're up for election, and the cat says hello, as usual. And then this one has their last Senate election, as well as the 2024 results. And then this last sheet is all of the candidates, and it takes you directly to the candidates Ballotpedia page. And more are getting filed every single day. But considering we're 3 months in, and this is how many Democrats are running, this is crazy. This is probably triple what I saw even in 2018. So this has been a labor of love, and there is literally nothing else like that.
This document does not exist anywhere else. This compilation of information does not exist anywhere else. You literally have to go to everybody's individual Ballotpedia page to find all the social media links and all that. For the kind of work that we do collectively as a community, this is a really cool and intense and major resource. Many thanks to Jamie for the labor of love in putting this together. And I know you had a little bit of help too.
I did. So yeah. I don't know if she's on here, but I want to send a huge shout out to one of our superstar volunteers, Connie, who went through and made sure every link was correct. Because when you're doing that many links, it's easy to mess up. And she spent, I think, 4 days going through every single link to make sure that it worked. So
We're talking thousands of links. So
Thousands
thank you,
of
Connie.
links. So a big shout out to her because that's amazing and perfect timing. We'd love to welcome Mallory. And, you know, the reason we really wanted her on this call, not only because she's fabulous, but she did a political article a couple weeks ago that resonated with me because she was really talking about how people don't know who Democrats are and Democrats need something to fight for. And so that whole article just resonated in my soul. And we started out with your campaign launch video, wild reaction. There was a part I even laughed out loud with the paddles.
We're not going to win with little paddles, everybody.
Yes, we're going to win with those paddles. So welcome and thank you so much for being here. As candidates like you that give me hope for the future, I'd love to explore a little bit more about what you're talking about in that article because a lot of people aren't talking about that right now.
Absolutely. First of all, hi, everybody, and welcome to an unbelievable time that I don't think any of us thought we would be in again. Trump 2.0. My God. I'm Mallory McMorrow. I am currently the state Senate Majority Whip in Michigan in the first democratically held state Senate since 1984 and a candidate for U.S. Senate. And yeah, I'm happy to make this conversational, Jamie, and we can go back and forth, but I just want to start with all of the energy that all of you have and that you bring to this call and that you're using every day. How can we best channel that energy? And what I think about very frequently in the article that was brought up was I did an interview with Vanity Fair shortly before announcing my candidacy for US Senate. And I think I feel a lot of the frustration that you do, that if you were to ask most normal people who are not plugged into politics all the time, what do Democrats stand for? I don't know that you would get a straight answer. And I am deeply frustrated watching some of our same old Democratic leadership in Washington act as if this is business as usual, that we're still holding press conferences from behind podiums and doing interviews where, you know, I hear some of our party's leaders say things like, well, their polling numbers look really bad right now, and we just have to stay the course and we'll get them in the midterms. The midterms are in 2026. It is early 2025. We just passed the 100-day mark. And I don't think any of us would believe how effective this second Trump administration would be at tearing down our democracy and our institutions as quickly as they have been. 100 days already feels like the first 4 years combined. It just feels like this never-ending fire hose of executive orders and bad news. Just this weekend alone, let's recap. Donald Trump said that we should not expect our kids to have 30 dolls. They should have 3 dolls. And Mattel, by the way, which is my old employer, just announced, surprise, they are raising prices because of the tariffs, that we should have 5 pencils instead of 200 pencils, that we should reopen Alcatraz, which is insane. Meanwhile, at the same time, he's proposed cutting $800 million from DOJ programs for community violence intervention, the very things that make our communities safer. So what he's proposing is just safety theater. He's actually cutting all the funding for the things that make our community safer while threatening to reopen Alcatraz. He said that he's not sure if he has to follow the Constitution and that he needs to ask his lawyers. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. What I know about this man in this administration is that all of these statements and actions, the AI generated image of him as the Pope or as character from Star Wars, although if anybody watches Star Wars, he was holding a red lightsaber, and that means you're part of the Sith. You're not the good guys. If you pay attention, it was May the 4th. All of these things could make us spiral and just go into this place where we are connecting with each other on social media and taking the rage bait. But I want every single one of us, and it's really hard, Every time we see him make a horrible statement, every time we see any of the Republicans refuse to stand up for him, anytime he does one of these AI generated nonsense things, what if instead of us getting angry and spiraling, we channeled that energy to take another action? Because the only way we win, and it's not just winning against Donald Trump, but it is winning to write our own future in the rubble that Donald Trump is going to leave behind for us, because let's be very clear, it is going to get worse before it gets better, is that if we start organizing right now and we get together and we find each other both online, and bless all of you on Demcast for sharing great content online, but we have to take some of that energy from online into the real world. The protests are great. It's amazing seeing everybody out on the streets. But I would challenge you, next time you're at a protest, next time you are out there with people from your indivisible group or from your friends in this organization, challenge each other to exchange phone numbers and decide that you're going to do one thing to organize with an unfamiliar group. Maybe it is signing up to support a local candidate for state house or state senate or school board or city council or US Senate. If you happen to know anybody who's running for US Senate, we're going to need a lot of help here in Michigan. And channel that energy into one action. It can be a small thing every single day, but we have to reach outside of our bubble and start to build what I said up front and what we addressed here, which is that people do not know what Democrats stand for. And I don't believe that answer is going to come from the DNC. It's not going to come from the center of the party. It's going to come from us. So it is up to us to reach out to all of our neighbors. I wrote a book recently called Hate Won't Win. I have a copy of it right here. I'm going to show it. Hate Won't Win. There is a workbook section in the back. And one of the exercises, sorry for giving everybody homework, but this is a manual, it's a guide, is I challenge people to ask yourself, do you know everybody who lives within 3 blocks of your house? Or if you live in an apartment building, do you know everybody who lives in your building? If you live in a rural area, do you know everybody in the 5 to 10 closest houses to you? And if not, why not? Because it's easy to use social media to find people who already agree with us and to organize and to do rallies and protests. But we have to start reaching the people who are disaffected, who didn't vote in this last election, or who maybe, and this is hard, it is hard for us to not have schadenfreude in this moment, to reach out to people who did vote for Donald Trump because he lied to them. Because he said, I'm going to bring your costs down. I'm going to make the price of eggs lower. I am going to make sure that you can afford to buy a house. Or there was a devastating story here in Michigan of a young woman in her mid-20s in northern Michigan who works for the forest agency, who she voted for him after voting for Biden last time around because he promised that he would make IVF free. And there was this heart-wrenching story in the Washington Post about how her struggles to get pregnant, and she believed this promise. So we have a window right now where people are angry and they're frustrated and they're scared, and it is on every single one of us to write the future of what this party looks like by reaching out to our neighbors, asking how they're doing, and then coming up with solutions together. It is going to start from the ground up, not from the top down. And if you don't believe me, all you have to do is look at what happened in 2018. In the wake of the 2016 election, there were people all across this country who had never been involved before, certainly not in the way that all of us are now, who got involved, who ran for office. I quite literally Googled how to run for office. I had no idea what I was doing. I found an organization called Emerge America, which recruits and trains Democratic women to run for office. I went through that training. I found Michelle Palace, who I know is on this call. Hello, Michelle. Michelle had just run a city council race, and I asked her, will you join this absolutely crazy journey that we're going on to defeat a Republican incumbent in a Republican district? And we didn't have the backing of the party, not up front. We didn't have the institutional support. We just figured it out as we went. And we talked to thousands of people to ask them what they needed. And more than anything else in my first race, and mind you, this was in a Republican district where my predecessor had won by 16 points in 2014. He was the son of a congressman. Nobody thought we could beat him. But people said everywhere I went, you remind me a lot of my daughter, who left and went to Chicago or New York or Denver. Why are you in Michigan? And what can we do to bring my kids back? That's a shared value. That talks about family and economic opportunity. And can you afford to buy a house? And can you have the life you want to have in the state that you live in? And all of us can do that. We can network our neighborhoods. We can build an organization of people first with no agenda. And then when it comes to election time, then you have the built-in trust of your neighbors, everybody around you in your community who come to you for advice and direction. And you can be the one that they come to ask, who should I be voting for? Who stands up for me? Because if I've learned anything, that we cannot wait until the midterms. That's my frustration with leadership in Washington. It is not enough to wait until the midterms. We have to build this right now. We have to reach out to people. We have to say hello, ask what they need, and then we have to show that we are willing to fight for them every single day. And yes, point out what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing to hurt them, but it is not enough just to point out what they're doing to hurt them. We have to have options to show why we are helping them. So I just thank you so much, everybody, for being here. You can tell that I'm really passionate about this and I think about this all the time. I'll leave you just with one anecdote, and then Jamie, Nick, happy to answer questions or however we want to run this. But a couple of years ago, I was up in Antrim County, Michigan, which is a deep red county in Michigan. I think Democrats have maybe ever gotten like 30% of any of the votes in the elections. And I talked to the county party chair in Antrim County, and she said something that I think about all the time in terms of how you organize and what you consider success, because we always look for the headlines of where's the flippable race and how can we beat Republicans. She said her goal is knowing that it's going to take time, but their goal is to do 2% better every cycle. 2%. And eventually, if you do that long enough, there's going to be 1 year in one race or two races or across the board where you're going to cross that 50% threshold. And what I love about that is it makes it accessible. 2% better means maybe I'm reaching out to a couple of my neighbors, or maybe I've got a nephew who just turned 18 and I'm going to help him register to vote. Or there's somebody in my life who I know just doesn't pay attention and thinks politics is gross. Maybe it's only a handful of people, but you get a handful of people to come out and participate and be part of their community and their country and their state. That is how we rebuild this. We are still in a democracy. It is still ours. This is our country. It is not Donald Trump's country. It is not Elon Musk's country. It's ours. And this is our opportunity to take it and make it something beautiful and something that actually delivers for all of us, for we the people.
That hit me because I know there's a lot of other blue dots in red states like I am. I'm Utah, that 2%, and that's it. We don't run the gauntlet every time, and that's how you make progress. And I've seen a lot of comments sometimes on my posts. I'm known as the positive I usually do a lot of positive posting, and it seems like a lot of people are like waiting for someone to come and save them. And that's not realistic. The leaders in Washington, Hakeem Jeffries is not going to come to red state Utah or red state Oklahoma and save you. This is up to us to save ourselves. And we save ourselves by working towards people like Mallory and getting them elected and showing everybody that Democrats do fight. It doesn't have to come from Washington. We do have to fight. And there's so much energy at these protests right now from young people who didn't show up to vote. And we can harness that, and they don't know what to do.
Yeah. And that is for those of you who have been in this work and been in this fight for a while, being that Sherpa, because there are so many people at my town halls, my coffee hours, people are showing up by the hundreds who have never been at a town hall or a coffee hour before, and they are raising their hand, and they are not just asking to know what I'm going to do. They want to know what they can do. That is the biggest question I hear from everybody right now is, I am so scared and I'm so overwhelmed and I want to do something, but I have no idea what to do. So it's a lot less scary to jump into something new if you're going with a friend. So be that person for somebody. Take them to a Democratic Club meeting, sign them up, introduce them to a candidate who's running for office, take them out canvassing. I love canvassing, but I will tell you honestly, the first time I ever did it, I was terrified. It is a very strange thing as an adult to go knock on strangers' doors and introduce yourself and just talk about your values and what you're running for. But you can help people get over that hurdle by being that person. And to put a fine point, Jamie, on your point that nobody's coming to save us, as Democrats, I feel like for too long we have put all of our attention at the top at the expense of everything down below. During Barack Obama's presidency, we were winning at the top. We believed, yes, we can, and we believed in hope, and it felt good. But during his presidency, Democrats lost more than 1,000 state legislature seats across the country. 2/3 of state legislatures were controlled by Republicans. And that is because, I'll tell you, from a state like Michigan, the DeVos family, Betsy DeVos's family, figured out that the real way to build power in a state like Michigan was not Dick DeVos running for governor, which he did. He spent about $10 million of his own money and lost. But it was to bankroll every Republican running for state house and state senate and growing their numbers in the state legislature until Democrats held a super minority in the state senate. We helped to break that in my race in 2018. But we have to start building from the ground up. And there is freedom in that, because I got to tell you, at the local level, you are the one writing the plan. You are the one coming up with the message. You are the one talking to your neighbors, and you don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to wait for somebody to give you the roadmap. You just need to go do it. And by doing that, we are going to be the ones who reshape this party into one that meets this moment and meets people and is actually responsive to what people need in the future that they want.
I'm fired up now.
Hell yeah, let's go. Let's run through all the walls.
Let's go. Nick, do you have any final questions? I know we only have her for a couple more minutes.
Mallory, thank you so much. This is so inspiring. I will just drop a little tidbit that Demcast and 11 Films have joined up and created a podcast called The Dangerous One, which is doing really well, and we'd love to have you on sometime. We'll email you about that. But
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I think the way that I like to close out this, the people who are on this call are seasoned activists. They're in particular very adept at online conversations and messaging. Do you have any advice for people who are very online about how to press, push, and win as we go forward here?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for everybody for being seasoned advocates and activists. We need you. And when I first took office in 2019, and I showed up at a lot of events, I told people very candidly, I'm sorry that I'm late, because for a lot of my life, I was not as engaged as I was now, and I took it for granted. So for people who have been doing this work for some time or who are very online, I would just challenge you to get out of your bubble. Put your phone down for a couple of hours. I know that can feel really scary. It is for me. I now keep my phone outside of my bedroom at night, so it is not the last thing I look at before I go to bed or the first thing I look at when I wake up. And really just sit and think of, start with one person, because sometimes it can be much easier for us to think we have to take the fight to the internet and social media because we think that's where people get their information, but voting is still in person. Activism and advocacy and building real movements is still in person. And I think all of us, and I am guilty of this too, so I'm going to say this very candidly, we all have that friend or that family member who we are probably more afraid to have these conversations with than strangers. Sometimes it's easier to have these conversations with strangers and fight it out and prove what Democrats stand for. But I think we hold much more influence with people who know us and people who care about us and people who love us. So I would just push everybody, keep doing all the work you're doing. My two pieces of advice is be that Sherpa. So if there is somebody new who's coming to a protest, particularly young people, because they're coming out and it matters, be that guide on where's a good way to start. Don't overwhelm them, baby steps. We all came from somewhere to get into this, but also just really come home and think about who is that one person who I have been afraid to have that conversation with. If there's ever been a moment to have this conversation, it is now. This is an existential moment for our country, and you don't want to be looking back in 2026 or 2028 and thinking, man, if I had just had that conversation. Voting in places like Michigan, this is by hundreds, if not thousands of votes. And that makes all the difference. So push yourself. Thank you. Stay engaged. Don't burn out. If you need a day off, take a day off and keep your phone out of your room. It has really helped my mental health significantly.
Excellent advice. Thank you. And with that, I know you're short on time. We super appreciate you being here. Like I said, I'll be in touch about other ways to engage with the Demcast community.
Awesome.
And we just good luck on your run. I think you got a bunch of fans here. We'll be watching and I'm sure supporting. So
appreciate you all. Check us out at McMorrowforMichigan.com and volunteer with us. It's super fun.
And the link we put in our document link is a link directly to her website. So you can find out all the ways to get involved. So
Thanks,
we
everybody.
encourage you to do that. Thank you so much, Mallory.
Have a good night.
Right. Thank you.